conversations outside the chambers. This is really important. If you're here to speak under public comments on a particular item on the agenda, please fill out a blue card, it's the request to speak card, and turn it into the city clerk. The cards are located near the doors at the back of the chambers, and I think we received a number of them. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Bragg.
Here.
Councilmember Patton.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem West.
Here.
Mayor Dedina.
Here.
Councilmember Spriggs is absent.
My pleasure that we're going to have for the Pledge of Allegiance, U.S. Army applicant Angel Manuel Ramirez lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Angel was born in San Diego, California. He graduated from Garfield High School. In his spare time, he writes poems, songs, and spends time with his family. He enjoys training in boxing, staying fit, and living a healthy lifestyle, which I'm assuming will serve him well in the United States Army. He is the first one in his family who graduated high school, so congratulations. I get a little emotional here because it's so moving. Life. In the future, he wants to use the U.S. Army GI Bill to go to university and study architecture. He is a proud American and loves his country. Wow. Thank you so much for being here.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and justice for all.
Thank you so much for coming out. Appreciate it. Great. Now we have council assignments and committee reports, starting with Councilmember Bragg.
Thank you. On last Saturday, many of us attended the surf dog competition held here in Imperial Beach. What an exciting day it was for man and his best friend. That event has just flourished and grown into being something that we all love. And now I would like to take just a few seconds to talk about something that has been on everybody's mind the last couple of weeks. And that's mosquitoes. And I'm not being funny because it's not a laughing matter. I have been in contact with Chris Conlin, who is the supervising vector ecologist and I promised him that I would speak about this issue tonight and encourage all of you to police your own backyard. Look for standing water. Mosquitoes can breed in just a capful of water. So please do your friends and families and neighbors a great service and police your own areas. I do have a link that he provided to us that we can also link to our page. If you would like the phone number to Vector Control, he is encouraging every one of us to call. There are many problematic areas, and they will be starting to treat the larva. But please, that number for Vector Control is 858-694-2137. I again encourage all of you to call. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patton.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. West.
Two things. I participated in the Sandag Public Safety Committee briefing as the alternate for South Bay, and also briefed on at the San Diego Regional Airport Authority. We had a major look at our environmental sustainability program, which was really enlightening. So there's some great things that are happening at our airport as far as really they're putting some batteries in there to go with our solar panels. So it's a really great thing to be seeing. So yeah, that's it there.
Great, thank you. Great, now Mr. Hall.
Mayor and Council, staff is seeking the removal of item 5.1 from the agenda, to strike that from the agenda because we're still working through that item. So we would look for a motion to remove that from the agenda. And then our Public Works, then that requires a motion. And then our Public Works Director would like to share some information with you following that.
For motion. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Today I'd like to I just want to show off some new piece of equipment we got at Public Works very recently. We got a new radar message sign. It looks like this. You might have seen it deployed out in the city on 9th Street, and I think today it's out on Encina. But this message sign has a lot of capabilities. It can be used as a full service message board. It can do variable messaging based on a schedule or radar input. Got an internal radar built into it. And for our uses, we'll be using it for special event messaging. We'll also use it for traffic control for when we need closed lanes, that kind of thing. We can do many traffic studies with it, both volume and speed. And then it'll be doing data gathering for us. And it actually has a bunch of pre-populated reports that we can use to work with our sheriff's department about on city streets. I think I've passed on along a packet just to kind of showing some of the sample reports that it does. And it goes and tells you kind of what we see on a weekly basis or daily, or whatever time frame we want to look at as far as how people are behaving on our roadways.
Thank you so much for that update. Any questions? It would be an important addition to City by Beat, so thank you. Great. We moved that to a public comment. I have public comment speaker slips. Marshall Bachman. Remember, you have 3 minutes. You don't have to take 3 minutes. And anyway.
Community. My name is Marcia Bachman. My family and I live on Seacoast Drive. Very quick request. Everybody who works or is part of the city is epic. They do their jobs with a smile. They are very helpful. You can't ask for a better crew than we have in Imperial Beach. That calls that one. Trash cans on Seacoast on the estuary side. Especially being beach time here and you have people coming in and out. I got to tell you, between Admiralty and Cortez, it looks like a fast food alley there on the street. As you go a little farther past Cortez, then they start picking up. But the trash cans on the beach side are just at the beach entrances, okay? And there are pretty much more dogs than people there are in this town. And you can see it as you're walking out. Any weekend, especially surf dog, any activity we might have, or just the summer in itself. So it would be appreciated if maybe we could get 1 or 2 more out there. The crews that work that street, awesome. They're on it. They're picking it up. You've got and I don't know if it's an education thing, that they walk along and they pick up the trash every morning, put it in their buckets, and you thank them all the time for what they do. But it would be greatly appreciated if we get a couple more trash cans out there to help them out. Thank you.
Any case?
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to come and let everybody know that we are doing a community cleanup on the east end of town. It's going to be centered around Red House Kitchen at 775 13th Street, and that's 13th and Donix. There are going to be a lot of people there, but the first 50 people are going to get a $10 gift card for Red House Kitchen. So we hope that everybody will come help clean up. We do a lot of cleanups on the beach, which we're very proud of, but we also want to clean up 13th and that area as well. And so we're very proud to be hosting that, and would love to see the community over there helping clean things up.
Could you restate the time and date?
Oh, yeah, it's,
and
I'm
location?
sorry, I didn't even say that. It is this Saturday, August 4th at 10 a.m.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Now we have Kathleen Lippett.
Good evening. And regarding those mosquitoes, there's also think of your bromelias and your outdoor dog bowls and any tires you might leave in your backyard. The perfect breeding reservoir. Anyway, okay, sorry. The League of Cities has requested that cities or counties write a letter to the Bureau of Cannabis Control regarding the proposed changes to regulations regarding delivery services to cities that have bans in place. These changes will undermine the promises of the continued protection of city and county land use authority and violates California state law, which grants local granted 40 marijuana production facility permits that includes deliveries has been forced to dedicate an entire unit to trying to enforce these regulations. It has taken them over a year to close a mere 11 unpermitted delivery services, and they suspect there are about 100 more. It turns out it's rather difficult to distinguish permitted from unpermitted delivery services, and they're moving targets, making it doubly as difficult to close a delivery service than a storefront. Also, regarding last month's City Council meeting, we were listening to testimonials and anecdotal evidence for the miraculous abilities of marijuana to cure disease, including cancers. Being that marijuana is a carcinogen, according to Prop 65, that seems unlikely. Also, the American and National Cancer Institutes are apparently still in the dark about this extraordinary news. Perhaps bud tenders should reach out to them along with other national medical associations, such as the Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, the American Academy of Ophthalmology, the American Academy of Pediatrics, American Lung, American Medical Association, the American Epilepsy Society, and share their expertise with them. If your common sense isn't crying foul, then you're not listening. Not only are these well-respected national organizations failing to endorse marijuana or marijuana products as medicine, their policies specifically cite the associated risks and side effects. For each symptom of disease for which marijuana is recommended, there's a well-accepted, well-researched, and more effective treatment. Marijuana shops are not providing marijuana customers or healthy young meals. And what's really in these products, we know more about what's in dog food than we do about this 21st century snake oil. The health benefits to which marijuana advocates refer stem from the potential CBD benefits.
Just, you have 10 seconds.
Sorry, okay. Consumers should be aware that tests of today's marijuana, there's no detectable levels of CBD often.
Thank you. We have Kim Frink. After Kim is Tom Hetherington, then it's Barbara Gordon, then Dan Percival, then it's Dante.
Good evening. Thank you. First, I just want to say a big thank you to the city, community organizers, volunteers, and donors for a great slate of summer events. It's been an awesome summer, and I know it's a huge amount of work to put these events on, and that enthusiasm and commitment that just shines through in Imperial Beach really makes IB a really special place. So thank you as a resident. Really appreciate it. Second, I wanted to give you a really quick update on Suncoast Market Co-op efforts. Suncoast is an effort to create a consumer-owned grocery store that will complement our existing shopping options by providing a great selection of natural and organic food, as well as a broader selection of locally sourced food and national brands. The support for Suncoast is really growing. We launched our yard signs, which you may see around the community. There's more and more in people's yards, which is really exciting to see. We got a $5,000 grant from one of our owner members who really was excited about bringing this asset to the community, and it's allowed us to accelerate our efforts and a study that provided us with information on ideal store size based on our market area and projected sales. So we're going to be sharing those results at our board meeting on August 20th at the Imperial Beach Library at 6 p.m. and that's open to the public for anybody that's interested in. We're going to have an informal family game night meetup at the park across from Pier South this Friday at 5:30. If anyone wants to come out and hang out with a great group of fun people. And it's open to anybody, and we just want to get all of us opportunities to get away from our screens and our TVs and get outside and connect with each other. And if people want more information about how together we can bring this really important resource to our community, we're having coffees with the co-op twice a month. On the first Thursday, 8:30 in the morning, so we'll be there tomorrow morning if anybody wants to come and have coffee with us. And on the second Tuesday, we're going to be at our local treasure, the Red House, at 9:30 also. And details for this and other events are on our website and Facebook. So thank you very much for your time.
Yes, my name's Tom Hetherington. I own property at 1302 13th Street in Imperial Beach. And just for your information, my son and daughter-in-law are the managers of that property. So I have a lot of stake about the property and the ownership here in this city. And I've been real pleased with the things you've done the last 10 years since I've owned the property. And I'm concerned a little bit about the situation with the pot shop still. I mean, I understand making sure they follow all the rules and regulations going to be up to the city to do that. And I'm a taxpayer here. I pay for a business license, and you know, I'm concerned about my investment. I'll be honest with you. That's why I have property here, for an investment reason. And I want to make sure that it's taken care of. And I still sort of feel like the pot shop isn't the best way to go in the city of Coronado. When I was young, and inland a little ways, my parents didn't like me coming down here and going surfing in Imperial Beach. And they couldn't understand why I wanted to come down here. Why don't I just go to PB, because it's closer, Mission Beach, closer to where I lived. And they thought it was a bad area. And it's changed over the years. You people have been here a long time know that. You're concerned about, I think the number one priority are the citizens of Imperial Beach. Maybe the owner and whoever runs the pot shop should be an Imperial Beach resident. Why have somebody from Coronado or Oregon or some other state or city come in and run a business when their interests may not be conducive to the best environment for the people in this city? So that might be something to consider. When you get ready to pick whoever's going to be running the pot shop, maybe they should be an Imperial Beach resident, maybe somebody that's been a resident for at least a minimum of 3 years. We wouldn't want them to move in next month and then be declaring that they're a resident. So thanks for everything you do. I know it's a tough one, the marijuana situation, and thanks for listening to us, or me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hetherington. Appreciate it. Barbara Gordon.
Thank you very much. I wanted to share with you this week, the California Bureau of Cannabis Control just released their first testing results, and 1 in 5 samples in California did not make the grade. The director of Merck's shop, the cannabis testing lab in Monrovia, viewed samples of cannabis, and 1 in 5 batches of marijuana has failed the laboratory test since the new state requirements kicked in July 1st. According to the data from the Bureau of Cannabis Control, failure was triggered by inaccurate labeling, contamination of pesticides, bacteria, and chemicals. The state regulatory gave businesses a 6-month grace period to comply with the rules, requiring that they could only sell products that had been tested for safety by a licensed lab. That grace period ended July 1st, and the state said that the lab has tested over 5,000 batches of marijuana. 20% of them do not meet state requirements. The state has licensed 31 testing labs. Many of the cannabis products had to be recalled from the store shelves because they did not meet the new standard regulatory pest control levels. This should concern the citizens of IB. Maybe the city could be relied on to produce a product that is not contaminated with pest control, bacteria, or chemicals. Thank you.
Hello, I'm disabled. I moved here 2.5 years ago, waiting on some surgery. I need 2 knees and a hip. And the Marriott, or the whole time I've been here, keeps parking their cars on the flat part of the sidewalk, over a public sidewalk. I've been complaining. You guys don't return phone calls. You leave a message. I mean, I'm pretty sketchy walking, aren't I? I mean, you've scared me, right? Okay. So, you know, walking's trouble. They think they can violate federal law. I've given it to the Marriott. I've given it to the sheriff. I've given it to your people. And you guys want to make your own plan. They keep doing it. After you sent me the emails saying, hey, we had a meeting. I've got 7 more pictures. I got parked on the yellow. Come on. Why can the Marriott get away with violating my civil rights? I'm disabled. 22522 of the American Civil Disabilities Act say you can't park within 3 feet of the flat part of the sidewalk where disabled people walk. Marriott parked over it constantly. Their general manager calls up corporate, lies to them, tell them they had me arrested. I'm crazy. I was cussing at their employees. The only time I ever used any profanity was repeating what their valets told me. Come to you people, called the Department of Justice. They give me all the information. I came to you people, gave you notice. There was a problem on the 13th of June. On the 10th of June, I fell down, dislocated my kneecap, walking around that on a Sunday morning. Had to step down on the slope, lost control, went down. I tell you people, my violations, my civil rights are being violated. Nothing. Don't get a phone call, don't get an answered call, don't get an email, nothing. Until I call your city attorney. Next, I hear from him. Come in, show them pictures. They're still doing it. They had one parked on the sidewalk for 8 hours yesterday. You tell me the city, the sheriffs are going to start ticketing them? No. Hell, I'd like to be able to walk on either sidewalk, yeah? Or is that too much? Because corporate told me that the general manager said the sidewalk on the others is nice and wide, I'd be better over there. Lies about me. This is real fun. So we can either take care of it in the house or we can have the feds involved, I don't care. Thank you.
Good evening, council. I just wanted, this cannabis thing is not, I'm not gonna let it go. This thing is just, it's gonna be every council meeting. I'm committed to coming out here and making public comments about this ordinance that has passed by the mayor, by Councilmember West and Councilmember Spriggs. I was at the basketball courts this morning and I saw a sign. There's about 6 signs if anybody has been there lately with IB municipal codes. No smoking, no sleeping. You know the signs I'm talking about. That basketball court has so much activity of marijuana smoking, I can't even bring my kids there to play on the playground. That's less than 50 feet from that basketball court. You guys can't even, you guys say that you can control an ordinance with a pot shop? You guys can't even do a basketball court. There's a lot of gang activity down there. And I'm listening to city workers. I go there every morning to do my pull-ups. There's homeless people living out there. It attracts those people. Smoking. And what does it do for the residents? The residents aren't able to enjoy a family day there. They can't stay there with their kids, and these guys are intimidating the sheriffs if they do come. I think the problem is because you guys just want to fluff off that enforcement. The sheriffs don't want to do anything because it's port property. If that's the problem, we need to ask for money for the harbor police to come out and do some patrols. So that was the main point. I wanted to ask the city clerk. I was reading this newspaper article about the cannabis dispensary approved by IB City Council. If you can please clarify the numbers, those statistics that you, Mayor, Mr. Mayor, gave out was not correct. It says, and I will quote, during the public comment, residents were allowed to speak for 2 minutes with 19 people in favor and 13 against. There's nothing in there that says how many of those people were out of town and how many of them were residents. That was such a biased statistic. It wasn't fair. So for the record, if we can have the city clerk look at the minutes from the last meeting or whatever, whatever suggestion that I can suggest is to get the public record correct, because you're reading it, it's in a newspaper. That's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no more public comments at this time. Great, and now we have presentation. So we have a presentation and certificate of appreciation to the Sera Service Project. And so I'd like to have Shiloh Homan, and I know you have all your students, all your participants here. So I'll read this out and then we can just present it to you guys. Presented the Sera Service Project, and you guys came last council meeting. Thank you so much for all your work you're doing. The City of Imperial Beach hereby commends with appreciation the efforts of the Sera Service Project to enrich the lives and assist the residents of Imperial Beach through service caring and the highest example of community engagement. If you guys don't know, we've had the Sera Service for the summer coming from all over the state to really help improve the quality of life in Imperial Beach and carry out service projects. And so it's really made a huge difference. So thank you so much. Well, who else want to come and get a photo? You're the face. I'm the face. Thank you, Mark. Apparently, we've all been to the beach. Howard, come on, come on in. Okay. I know they don't know the part. Yeah, so we'll figure out more than that.
Closer. A little bit closer. There we go. All right. All right, ready? 1, 3.
Ms. Holman, we look forward to you coming back year after year to establish this rapport in our city. Thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you to you all. This community is absolutely amazing. We've loved being here. We hope to be here for many years. And yeah, thank you so much. It means a lot to us to be here and for your wholehearted welcome and support.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Now we have a, I'm sorry, June Frost. I'm sorry, I didn't read that. From the IB Library will give a presentation. Hi. Okay. I'm sorry, I missed the 1.2. I was looking at the MTS thing. And now we have a presentation on the first year of the San Diego County Library Imperial Beach branch. Sorry, I totally missed that.
No, you're totally
Thank you.
cool. Can you hear me okay? So hi, I'm June Frost. I'm the branch manager of the Imperial Beach Library. I thought it was time that we gave you a report on our first year of the library, and it's my hope to continue to give you a report at the end of every year to let you know what we're doing. First thing to say is one of the hardest aspects of my job has always been that I work for the county, but technically I work for the city of Imperial Beach. And how I got past that was simply by saying, well, it's not their library, it's not the city's library, it's our library. So when I talk to you about all these great things, because there are a lot of incredibly great things that have happened, I'm talking about our successes, not the county successes, not the Imperial Beach libraries. I'm talking about our successes, because we would not have this library without you. So having said that, let's take a look at our first year in the library. When we built this library in Imperial Beach, I always jokingly say that this is a flip-flop library. What do I mean by that? You can walk off the beach in your flip-flops and go right into the library. It is a flip-flop library. It's meant to be IB. My favorite aspect about it, the carpeting, which is all sandy, gets foamy, and then it gets dark like you're under the ocean. You're essentially taking a walk across the beach in our library, and you're in the ocean by the end of it. These little pieces that they put into this library made it very appealing, very much Imperial Beach. I love it. I love it for what it does for the community. So with that, we had a few goals in mind. We wanted to be creating a sense of place for the community. Libraries aren't just about books anymore. You've all heard me say that. It's about interaction. It's about, you guys have copies? It's about interaction. It's about doing other things as well. Our mission statement is to inform, educate, inspire, and entertain. So when we look at our program and we think in terms of doing things like that, if you look May the 4th be with you. On May 4th, we had a program for May the 4th be with you. We brought in stormtroopers who also rated the art program that we have. We are in partnership with First Five San Diego, which encourages families to read, move, interact, engage with their kids in the first 5 years of their life. We had a movie in the park. We're having another one this month on the 25th. We're going to be showing Grease. We already have 600 hits on our Facebook for that alone, saying, oh yeah, we're coming. So you bring out a blanket, bring your dinner, sit down, watch a movie in the park in Veterans Park. I'm also very proud of some specific clubs that we have. One of the ones I am very proud of is our GSA club. GSA stands for Gay Straight Alliance. We have a series of teams that were looking for a place where they could meet privately, where they could meet protected, where they could actually meet and not be judged. And we have one of the most successful GSA clubs in the county for the teens. We bring in people to provide them with information to help them answer questions that they may have. This particular one, we had some transvestites come and talk to them. It was one of the funnest programs we ever had. There was a lot of laughing going on, but again, the goal was to provide them with resources to help them with information that they might need. We also have a 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program. I'm not going to give you all the programs we're doing, but I'm going to definitely mention some, in which we are encouraging parents to read to their kids at least that 1,000 books before they reach the age where they start kindergarten. That could be a newborn baby or so on. This is a county-wide program. It's been going on for several years. Lots and lots of fun. They get prizes or something put on the back of the door, stamps. It's meant to engage. And so again, not just about books. Bringing a sense of community. I wanted to talk about some of the amazing programs that we have in the library. These are our standard programs that we have every year. Our signature program is the Dia de los Muertos program. To music, we actually educate on what the festival is about, the significance behind it, the symbolism. We set up a Dia de los Muertos altar in our lobby for people to learn more about it, connect. That means that any veteran can come into our library, go into this room, pick up the phone, and they will be instantly connected to the Veterans Administration at county headquarters. That they will set them up to do Skypes with them. They are there to help fill out forms, answer any questions they might have. They no longer have to take the long drive or feel like they have to take a bus or something to go all the way up to Fairmont Mesa. They can just come into our library and we'll connect them up. Have our spooky family movie night. We celebrated our first year, and we'll probably be celebrating our anniversary every year. Lower left-hand corner, that's you, Mayor Dedina, at our career day. We partnered with the Boys and Girls Club, where we brought in people to talk about their careers, what it was like. Mayor Dedina talked about being civic duty and civic, as well as Wild Coast, and being valuing the environment. Middle program there is probably our most popular program. That's our Local Heroes program. Thank you, Chief French, for. Local Heroes started about 9 years ago. It was meant for kids who saw people around town, positive role models, to come in and read to them. Most of our public safety has returned and returned again. We invite them back, but we've had veterinarians come in. All of our service organizations have come in and done this. We want to put positive role models in front of the kids. We want them to see them reading and thinking it's the greatest thing in the world. Probably the most favored one is a long time ago, we had some incidents. We invited the bomb squad to come in, and they brought the little mechanism that comes in to, and it came around the corner from the bookshelf, and all they thought about was, it was a transformer. We had a transformer in the library. That's all they saw and heard. But at the end, the transformer held the book for the deputies to read. We also have an annual Santa Comes to IB program. We have a wonderful Santa in Tim McNeil. He comes and usually by the fire department on a fire engine. This program was set up so that parents could bring their kids, bring their own cameras. There's crafts, there's cookies, they can take pictures. The kids get to meet Santa. They don't have to deal with the mall. They don't have to deal with the parking, and it's their camera. So they'd be able to afford nice pictures for their families with Santa with a kid. Well, one of my favorite, we have an ESL cafe. English as a second language. Manager Andy Hall came and helped us with it one time, is to promote learning English skills. So we sit down, we have coffee, philosophy. We talk about local subjects, subjects we see on the news, and we give them an opportunity to practice their English skills. It's no pressure at all. I do a lot of talking about my husband and what a great cook he was. They finally told me one time they needed to meet him. So I brought Doug in one time for them to meet him, and he actually brought cookies for them, which means they really love him and want him to come back. We also have a citizenship program. This is another one I'm extremely proud of. Why? Because we have a lot of successful people take the test, pass, and are now citizens of the United States. So next one. So what have we been up to? Those are our normal programs. We've introduced 10 new programs at our library. IB Fresh, which is geared towards people who go to farmers markets. Maybe you make beeswax candles. Maybe you learn about how to make an owl box, how to raise chickens, things like that. We have Art, Wine, and Cheese. And wine is spelled W-H-I-N-E, and cheese is spelled C-H-E-E-Z. It's kind of a cute little name for it. It's not actually wine and cheese. There's actually a picture of it in the lower corner there. That's learning to do the picture of Frida. And that's them doing it. Of course, a favorite is Harry Potter Back to School program, where we help kids get excited about going back to school, as well as introduce kids to be excited about starting school. We started 2 new story times, a baby story time and a jump and jive, which is more of an exercise, music oriented to get kids moving as well as reading books. Make it and take it after school programs that we have now. We started a homework help program with the Girl Scouts. They were helping us with that. And we also are the only library in the county that has an exercise class that's belly dancing. And another one is kind of fun. And my all-time favorite program that we have brought or new to the library is the fact that we now host library exhibits in our community room. There is now a place for people in the community to exhibit their art. I'm actually booked up till, I think, February 2020 on that community room, but they're all locals, and I'm very excited that we're able to do that. It was one of the things I dreamed about when we built this library, is being able to have art exhibits come through. Oh, forgive me. I forgot the picture in the lower right-hand side. This is the chili cook-off last week. It's the newest picture that I have, or latest picture we have in a program. The Sheriff's Department swept it. They took both Best in Show and People's Choice. It was probably the best chili cook-off we have ever had. We had 108 people show up. We ran out of some chili. The competition was incredibly fierce. So I wanted to put that in. I'm sorry, Fred, I didn't mean to forget about this there. Point that out. So this is my favorite slide, and we're going to take it slowly. This is the payoff or the snapshot. This is what we've accomplished, or what has happened since we got the library with the new programming and everything that's happening. Our circulation has gone up 140%. Our programs have increased 123% with 166% in attendance. People are coming and they are using their library. Internet access, we're up 155%. We used to have just 8 internet terminals. We now have 14. We have Wi-Fi that you can use within 15 feet of the library up until 12 midnight. And there's enough portals that we have people parking outside and use it. And that's totally okay. That's what it's there for. All right, our collection size. Our collection size in the original library was 42,000 materials or items in the library. We're at 126 items in our library. American Library Association, they set a level for cities and libraries to meet. They want a 2.5 to 3 item per member of the population. We're at 4.5. We're at 4.5. Interesting enough, these statistics are based on a comparison to 2015, because that was the last year we were completely in the old library. I did not use the temporary library. So these are pretty solid statistics, and they are phenomenal statistics in the library world. For me to be able to say this and headquarters going, you kidding? Are you sure we did it? These are all correct. We actually had, I ran another report, active cards in the last 5 years. We have 126,000 active cards in the last 5 years. What's the population of Imperial Beach? 27,000? we're bringing people in and they're liking what's happening here and they're liking this library that we have built for them. Seeking opportunities. This is what we've got planned for the future. Don't think that we're stopping all right here. We're going to keep going. We want to get the computer classes
June, I just want to
going.
make sure you're going to wrap up.
Do I need to wrap up?
Yeah. I don't, how many minutes did you have? More minutes did you have?
I only have like a few more slides.
Okay.
Is that okay? Sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't know I had a time limit.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, anyway, computer classes, Dress for Success, which is basically we're asking people to donate professional clothes. We set up and teach them how to do interviews, Harry Potter back to school, snack programs, Morning Friends, which is a program for the mentally challenged. We're going to work on getting the AARP tax help back, but we need volunteers for that. Writers workshops. I'm going to jump to my favorite. This thing is the new self-service laptop kiosk. We are going to be the test center for it. We're going to be the first in the county to get it. We're going to now have 12 brand new laptops for people to be able to check out. It works just like getting a Snickers bar out of a vending machine. You check it out with your library card, and then it then goes back, comes out to you, and you can use it in the library. It's not something you can take home. Okay, acknowledging my friends at the library. They've done an incredible job setting up that bookstore, as well as operating the donor wall, and they've done 18,000 hours worth of volunteer time for us. Of course, I can talk about the Architectural Design Awards. I will say this about the library. Outside of that is actually the Orchid Award there. Outside of the awards, the coolest thing about our library is that we are the coolest place in town, and we're not paying for it. We're still that net zero library with those solar panels. In closing, this is your Imperial Beach Library staff, all of them including the intermittents and student learners. The staff would like to thank you, and San Diego County would like to thank you for all your help and support in getting us to this where we're at. I can go on and on. Obviously, I can brag about this all night long. So I will wrap it and say thank you. And we're looking forward to more dreams and more opportunities and partnerships with you guys in the future. Thank you.
Thanks so much, June. Any questions, comments? Great. Well, I want to thank you for outstanding work. It's really a pleasure to not only see the great work you guys do and all, but also more importantly, the impact. And then number two, the comments we get from people all over the city, but more importantly, outside the city who come visit the library and just have nothing but great things to say about it.
Great,
So,
thank you. And
an
I'll
amazing
set that
place.
on.
And it's obviously set the standard for our moving forward in our future for public buildings and public amenities. So
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
so much. And now we have item 1.3 that'll be made by Councilmember Lori Bragg, and that's San Diego Metropolitan Transit System marketing update and presentation of proclamation and recognition of Free Ride Day. And we'll have Rob Shupp, Director of Marketing and Communications, and Marshall Gutierrez is here as well. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
It's good seeing you again. And thank you for having me. I'm Rob Shupp. I'm the Marketing Director for MTS. Marcial Gutierrez is our South Bay representative, and we're working hard to increase our presence in South Bay and communicate with all of your constituents. I'm here to just give you a brief kind of status report on MTS and kind of the activities that we've got going to increase ridership. At your desk, we've left you some of our marketing materials. This really gives you a good insight as to what we're up to at MTS, how the investment in public transportation really benefits our region, and asks a series of kind of what if questions. What if we invested more in transit? How does that benefit the region? Let me see if I can figure this out. Okay, so I'm here because our ridership has been declining, and this isn't because San Diego is unique. This is a trend that's going on across the country. We set a ridership record in FY15 of 97 million trips. That's fallen to about 88 million trips over the last couple of years. So that arrow at the top of at the end of my presentation, that's the hopeful trend that we can turn around with a ridership campaign. Lots of people ask why, and I think the economy's been chugging along for a while now. People have been employed for a long time. They're making more money. This region, let's face it, is set up for the car, so people can afford cars. They aspire to car ownership. Gentrification, land is getting more expensive. It's forcing people out that have heretofore been our transit riders to the outskirts. Uber, Lyft, hitting our visitor market. I think land use planning is really tough. People love our paradise, and to increase density on transit corridors is just easier said than done. I was happy to see and I drive here, where Rainbow comes into Silver Strand, there's a nice high density project there with a bus stop out front. So that's the kind of development that we need to encourage to increase transit ridership. Imperial Beach is important to us. We got about 1,500 riders every day boarding our system here. So we work hard to promote use of transit to IB. Here's our summer newsletter that has a picture of the beach here. We do fun places brochures, and I think Imperial Beach is top on our list of beach destinations. So it's an important market for us, and we want to continue that work. Push that button too hard. So we're embarking on a Choose Transit campaign. This is a kind of a multi-tiered campaign. Launched it pretty visibly with outdoor advertising in the last couple of months. We're transitioning now to an I Choose Transit and showing the people that have made that choice. I'll get into that a little bit, but we're doing a lot of print, TV, and digital marketing is the way to really go with social media, digging into those demographics and activating the people that already have a propensity to want to choose transit. So what we're trying to do is kind of talk about the lifestyles, the values that are important to people, and pivot that to transit. So we have a young millennial on the left that's really active in the community. We have an artist that's also active in the community, cares about the community, is tying together with his friends, an Hispanic dad that cares about the future of the planet and the future for his daughter. And then a working mom, she's busy. She's got to get her kids off to school. She's got a job to get to. Actually uses transit as a decompression. It's her time. So these are kind of the strategy is to pivot to transit, show the lifestyle changes or the lifestyles that people have chosen, and that they also choose transit. I need help in delivering this message. I think, cities all over our region have an obligation to meet a climate action plan. I think integral to all those climate action plans are getting people out of cars and into other modes. And so, I'm asking for help. MTS is throwing its resources behind this and offering a free ride day. And this gives us an opportunity, I think, to meet with mayors, have a news conference with mayors, have news conference, not a different news conference, but have our partners at UC San Diego who are really behind transit, the chancellor. But this is the opportunity for all of us to encourage people to ride transit, and MTS is giving people that opportunity to try it for free and see if that works in their lifestyle. It's October 2nd. It's part of Rideshare Week that the iCommute team does at Sandag. We're going to do it on a Tuesday. We've been partnering with the city of San Diego on a Transit Tuesday program. And so again, we're going to launch that probably the last week of September and get everybody geared up for the free ride day. And we're putting together toolkits for all of our partners. We'll be meeting with the cities later in probably early September just to go over this toolkit. But these are the tools that you can use to encourage people to ride transit. It's got op-eds, FAQs, banners that you can put on your website, email signatures, all that kind of stuff. And then it's got to be a sustained effort. So we'll continue this. We'll continue our Transit Tuesdays. We'll do our route promotions. For free transit, we're also going to do banners along Palm and Seacoast. So in Imperial Beach, we'll have a lot of notice of our free ride day. That's it.
Great, and I think we have a proclamation for you, but I don't know, Councilmember Bragg, do you have any comments you wanted to make, or since you're our MTS champion?
I do. Mr. Shoup, I can't thank you enough for being here in the audience. I don't know how, if you truly understand how honored we are to have Rob here for us. Rob knows that when he gives a report at MTS, I love them. I think some of our board members kind of roll their eyes, but I'm right into it and share his passion for transit. It is so evident. So Rob, we do have a proclamation about Free Ride Day 2018. Whereas October 2nd, 2018 marks Free Ride Day, the region's first such day where the MTS system will offer free rides all day long to encourage residents to celebrate and ride the agency's buses and trolleys. This goes on a little bit. I did want to, there was a paragraph in here that I thought was important. two act, well, the whole thing, but public transit is an important element to the vitality of Imperial Beach, taking people to work, school, shopping, health appointments, church, and much more. Now, this is where the numbers just absolutely thrill me. MTS operates 95 bus routes and 3 trolley lines on 53 miles of double-tracked railway. Each weekday, 300,000 passenger trips are taken on MTS bus and trolley services in 10 cities and the county. In FY 2018, MTS served more than 85.4 million riders. So think about those numbers. Think about the job that MTS does for our county. The only thing that was missing from this, you probably don't have the numbers yet. It's my favorite report at MTS, and that's the Comic-Con ridership.
Ah, I do have that number.
What is it?
It was 381,661. So that's extra trips that we did during Comic-Con. So that was up 5% from last year. So
Awesome.
it's an incredible event. It's so much fun to be part of that and to have such an impact on people.
Rob, I think you're the hardest working man in transportation.
Ha!
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
being
Lori.
here. I want to give you this. Let me take my agenda out of there, though. You don't want that.
Whatever you want.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Councilmember Bragg. Appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Hall, you had a last minute agenda info from Councilmember Sprigg for consent calendar items 2.1 and 2.3.
Councilman Spriggs just wanted to indicate he would not be able to attend the JPA meeting, and I believe Mayor Pro Tem West will be attending in his stead, and he wanted to let you know that he supported the actions that will be taken at JPA. So he just want to make sure that was included in the minute.
Then I have an update on item 2.2, if that's okay. So with the Tijuana River, it's interesting. We really hammered the governor of Baja California pretty severely and said that in the Mexican national media said that the pollution was the cause of massive corruption in Baja California. That received national news coverage in Mexico. The response and that was because the governor had stated after our original press conference in Punta Banderas, that's where they discharged 40 million gallons of sewage a day into the ocean, that there was only infrequent pollution of the ocean. And so that was why we really hit national newspapers in Mexico about that. That got a lot of coverage in Baja California. The response from Baja California was that Mayor Dedina is a sensationalist, and that we're only seeking attention, something like that, whatever, just a standard response. Then, however, last Friday, I think it was last Friday, the state sewage agency announced that they would be making improvements to Punta Banderas. So I'm planning to do so. Now they've announced that a lot. So when we actually make them, we'll take them at face value. On the other hand, we're meeting with them next Tuesday through the Consul of Mexico in San Diego. So that's a good sign. The second thing that's happened is that just today in national newspapers in Mexico and in Baja California press, they announced that an Israeli firm will actually be getting a contract to treat wastewater in Tijuana and use that for agricultural purposes in the Valle de Guadalupe. Again, that's in the newspapers, but that could be actually something that was pretty interesting. So we'll monitor that. That was a firm that we met with, I think, more than 2 years ago, and actually had toured the Tijuana River Valley, both sides of the border. So we'll see if that comes to fruition, but hopefully we can continue to move them forward. So anyway, that's the update on item 2.2. Anyway, with that, I'd like to get a motion to approve consent calendar items 2.1 and 2.3.
So moved. Second.
Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Great, thank you. And now we have item 4.1, which might be the longest title of any public hearing that I've read. I'm not going to read everything, but item point one, number one of 4.1 is a consideration of amendment to the circulation element of our general plan, LCP, to redesignate IB Boulevard from 3rd Street to, anyway, to do a number of things, including 2-lane collector, 4-lane collector, 3-lane collector. And number 2, consideration of a coastal development permit and categorical exemption to CEQA guidelines for this project. So anyway, I'm going to declare the public meeting open, and City Manager Hall will introduce the item, and we'll speak about last-minute agenda information as well. That's what I have here.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I'm certainly going to throw this over to Steve, who's going to give a quick presentation, and then we also have the consultants here who will be able to answer any of your questions. Just wanted to let you know that as on several of these items where we have a lot of public comment, we received some last-minute agenda info that is before you. I think that the mayor will refer to that last-minute information as he wraps up. I just wanted to make sure that each one of you did receive that. It looks like you did. So it was literally at the last minute. So thanks.
Great, thank you. Mr. Josh.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. So here is a picture that a lot of people that drive on our roads end up at. And one of the roads that we're talking about today is Imperial Beach Boulevard. It's one of the major thoroughfares into the community, and it serves the community very well, but it needs some improvements. It has the opportunity to become a different sort of travel mode and to address a lot of the needs that the community has. And therefore, the opportunity for the community to enhance that has come to us. And so as we start most of our presentations, we begin with the what and the why. So before you this evening, the what is the technical aspect is an amendment, as the mayor had indicated, to the circulation element of the city's general plan and local coastal plan, along with a coastal development permit and a CADX. So why? Why are we looking at modifying Imperial Beach Boulevard? And I've outlined a number of the elements down there below, and I'll briefly indicate them. Safety for the children and the seniors. Imperial Beach Boulevard stretches from on the eastern edge, 15th Street, all the way to Seacoast Drive. And there are 2 schools on that. It's a safe routes to school, and there's our senior center and our library that Gina talked about a little bit earlier. And there are a lot of pedestrians there. So again, safety for pedestrians, bicyclists and motorists. Very few bike lanes along that area, and some completely absent. Another why, additional parking. The ability to redesign that affords us the opportunity to add additional parking, which translates into access to our beach and our natural areas. Weaving these things together, also our economic health. We have one of the most unique assets in this community, and that's our estuary. And that is an ecotourism opportunity that through thoughtful design and community input provides a world-class placemaking opportunity with a boardwalk, and we'll see that in a moment. Here's a heat map, and this is provided to us by Line Bike, and I brought this just to briefly show Imperial Beach Boulevard, of course, is located right down here. This is 13th Street, and of course Seacoast. So you can see that it's very well traveled by bikes. And so again, it gets to that safety aspect because there is a need, and this is data driven. Here's a very rich data graphic that I'm just going to briefly go over here, because these are some of the elements that we took a look at, again, being data driven. And so along the top here are the different types of modes. And then along this edge here, along this column, are the different segments of the street network that we're talking about. And so each one of these is broken down into data. And you can see here in this column here on the left of this little box, and each of these boxes are sort of the existing scores for, in this case, pedestrians, right? And with the proposed redesign, you can see that all of these scores increase. Additionally, with bikes, we go down this list, you can see that biking in the community along this corridor does not score very well. With the proposed redesign, it scores favorably. So it's a twofold increase. For those individuals, and it's great that we had our friends from MTS here talk about transit. So along that corridor, there are going to be qualitative improvements identified with the additional benches and bike racks. And again, we can see on the heat map, people bike, and by providing those bike racks to transit. It's going to afford additional modes of transportation. And of course, automobiles. We all continue to drive. Now, who knows what's going to happen in the future with AVs, and there's a lot of debate on that. That's a discussion for another day. But in any event, you can take a look here at the grades. Currently, our level of service for automobiles along that corridor is an A, which is virtually unheard of in most places. And it maintains it maintains an A, and in some cases it drops down a little bit to a B. But what does that mean in real world terms? It means at an intersection, maybe a delay of a few more seconds, literally maybe a few more seconds. So that's the price, if you will, to afford the increase in all these other types of modes. And then parking. Parking is a key issue in the community. And again, you can see here that with the exception of one area, there is actually a large net gain within this project of parking along that corridor.
So that was a really
yes, sir.
well-defined way of evaluating impact. We haven't done that before, but it's actually pretty useful.
Yeah, again, our consultants and project manager Juan, put these documents together. And again, this is a very data-rich document. And again, we're trying to be driven by data. So what are these corridor segments? So they've been kind of, from a planning standpoint, we've tried to identify them into, 3 different areas. We have a gateway segment, and again, another very data-rich graphic here. 15th Street's the edge of our community. Along this gateway, which again, for planning purposes, kind of goes till 9th Street. And then moving west, we have our Civic Center area. Of course, we're located right here, right now. And then, of course, we have our schools and our parks. And then the estuary and the coastal zone. And then this area right up here, these numbers represent the number of trips. And as you can see, as we move from west to east, they increase because, again, there's not a lot of eastbound traffic that originates west of Seacoast. So we start in that area. Thank you. So this is a great little snapshot to show how smart that the policymakers in our community who give us the direction have us leverage funds. For every dollar that the city is putting into this project, we're getting $26.5 back. So that's a pretty phenomenal rate of return. So just looking at that in total, $211,000 from city's donation is translating into a $5.8 million project. So let's start with some of the graphics and the fun. As we enter into our community, you can see the existing sort of gateway. And so this is kind of the pretty picture showing the opportunity to sort of demarcate through landscaping, monument trees, and a median that includes some really cool sort of enriched paving and whatnot. Here's, and again, I don't expect you to take a look at this line work detail. I have some better cross sections here, but this just, again, sort of defines what that area looks like and shows some restriping. At 13th Street, that cross section doesn't change a whole lot, but for some of the bikes. Again, we're very sensitive to the level of service at these intersections. So you'll see here, this still maintains 2 lanes of traffic, westbound and eastbound, and also has a center turn lane. As we move further along that corridor, from 9th to 13th Street, that's where the sort of transition changes from this 4-lane cross section to a 3-lane cross section. 1 lane in each direction, center turn lanes, and then bike lanes. And then these areas are like little shy zones, right, that separate the parking from the cyclist. So moving a little bit further, and again, I got this photo, of course, from Google, as you can see here, but it identified a person here, cycling. So, and again, that just sort of reinforces the heat map that we had seen about folks, using their bikes as transit within the community. And so as we take a look at this cross section, very similar to the previous one, 3-lane cross section, 1 lane in each direction, center turn lane, bikes, parking. Now, and this is actually going to be an item that we'll talk about in the end and receive some direction because, again, the project team here on this did a fantastic job of doing outreach, going to DRB, going out into the community, hitting the farmers market, trying to get a lot of participation. And so again, as you know, just in front of Mar Vista High School, that cross section of Ivy Boulevard, it's pretty wide. There's a lot of land there, and we were like thinking, hey, what can we do with some of that? And there are some designs where we seen, hey, let's get some extra parking, and you can throw it in the median. Of course, we received a number of comments about that, and so the purpose of identifying this sort of a street design is that it added median parking. It allowed for a U-turn, so people weren't driving down these streets into the community and then pulling into people's driveway and turning around. It also added some traffic calming and the ability to put in some sort of prominent placemaking features with biofiltration. And again, biofiltration is not relegated to this area, but there's an option here as well, and that would eliminate the parking in the middle of the street, put the parking parallel along the edges of the street, and still allow for that U-turn ability as well to minimize the impacts within the community. So that's an option that'll be before you, and I'll summarize that at the very end. And so this is that cross section, and again, very similar to the previous ones from 3rd to 4th Street. And this is another sort of design discussion that we'll have, but again, 3-lane cross section, bike lanes, parking, and then a shy zone. Here is the curbside parking. There are 3 different scenarios here that allow for different amounts of parking along this edge treatment here. And again, 3rd Street to 4th Street, we have some pretty high density residential here on the south side and a low density residential on the north here. And so this is the curbside parking or parallel parking, whatever you want to call it. And here we can see that under this scenario, there's actually a net loss within just this segment. But again, I want to emphasize overall, there is a substantial increase in parking. But again, just taking it on this particular block, this particular design would yield a net loss of 4. Now, if we were to look at an alternative design and do 30-degree angled parking, that would actually have a net increase of 1. And then if we went to 45-degree angled parking, that would net 14 additional parking stalls along that segment. So then here is perhaps the crown jewel of this project is the estuary. Again, this is an opportunity for world-class placemaking. We all have gone to places where we were like, wow, that was a really cool place, and we remember it. And this is that opportunity along this edge. And so again, fantastic imagery along here. And this is what that could look like. Again, great design team. The landscape architect did a really cool nod here. I mean, if you take a look at this and you didn't know it, this is the wing of a bird, right? I mean, just a really cool sort of imagery here. Great rich materials. Again, embracing that natural edge of the Tijuana Estuary. And again, some other cool pictures. This boardwalk area here is 24 feet wide. That's a place, and it stretches the entire length from 3rd, to Seacoast. And again, benches and whatnot along the area. And again, just some more imagery about the opportunity. And this kind of gives you a scale perspective of what that could look like. Parallel parking along the edge and a wonderful component of this estuary with overlooks. And here's that cross section again in plan view or in cross section view. So parking, center turn lane, bikes, and the sort of promenade area. And here is just it sort of overlaid, on an aerial image. So as I had indicated, we had went to the design review board, who did a fantastic job of deliberating, asked for some additional information. We went back with them. They provided some comments here. And so these comments also include information that we had received from the community and kind of manifest into sort of 3 considerations for the city council to sort of give final direction on as we move forward with the project. And so those are in the civic center sort of segment that I had identified earlier. The option is to have that median parking or the curbside parking. This was the area in front of the high school. So that's sort of question number 1, y'all. The second one is between 3rd and 4th Street, the curbside parking, the 30-degree angle, which nets 1, or the 45-degree angle, which nets 10. And then the estuary segment, the DRB had, wanted y'all to consider whether or not to add additional parking or to maintain the wider edge that we had talked about. Again, the edge there is 24 feet wide. If we were to introduce parking along that edge, not parallel, but angled parking, it would reduce that area to about 7 and 9 feet in sections, and that's just a bit more than a standard sidewalk. So those are the design considerations for you. And then with that, staff would recommend that you would adopt resolution 2018-7948 and resolution 2018-7949, and we stand ready for any questions you may have.
Great, thank you for that excellent presentation. We have specific project questions, or can we go to the public comment? We have like 20 cards. Yeah, okay, great. We have a number of speakers. We have, starting with Andrew Ewan from the San Diego, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Thank you for this opportunity to speak before you. I'm the project leader for the San Diego National Wildlife Refuge Complex. We oversee several national wildlife refuges here in San Diego County, including the Tijuana Slough and San Diego Bay National Wildlife Refuges. We support the proposed improvements to Imperial Beach Boulevard, the improvements to the vistas that the public and the residents of Imperial Beach enjoy from the estuary south is spectacular, and we appreciate the design and the consideration and the sensitivity that went into making this area even more beautiful and more accessible and more enjoyable for the public. The improvements to Imperial Beach Boulevard for bicyclists will increase visitation to the city and to the refuge, and the improvements to crossing Imperial Beach Boulevard will bring those residents who may see Imperial Beach Boulevard as a barrier over to the estuary and to visit the trails. We are also working on replacing the deck at Third and the deck that's made out of Trex, that's first generation Trex, as well as improving the overlook on Seacoast Drive. So the projects that the city is proposing, as well as those improvements, I think will be beneficial to improve the quality of life for the residents of Imperial Beach. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We have Chris Peregrine from the Tijuana River National Estuary Research Reserve. California State Park.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City staff. Thank you for the opportunity to talk here today. I wanted to express support for the project here, the improvements to Imperial Beach Boulevard, enhancements and beautification. I think this is a great project to connect the community and the public in general with the Tijuana Estuary. I come to a lot of these projects from a natural resources conservation and natural resources education perspective. I think one of the things that we really need to focus on more in San Diego County is connecting the people with our natural resources. And I think that there are a lot of elements in this project that do exactly that. They're connecting people with the Tijuana Estuary. On any given day, in a busy summer day, the city of Imperial Beach beaches and Seacoast Boulevard can have thousands of people on walking around there, but we could end up having only 100 people at our visitor center, which is just around the corner. So I think improvements like this are really important because they're bringing the public to a center of education, which is the Tijuana Estuary, where we have a visitor center. We have wonderful projects and programs to connect people with the Tijuana Estuary and the Tijuana River Valley and everything that's happening in this area. I think that there are a lot of challenges with the Tijuana River, and one of the ways that we are going to overcome those challenges is by having the community understand what those challenges are and come to the table to advocate for the important changes and improvements that we need. So I look to this project as one of those steps to bring people to the Tijuana Estuary and help improve the health of this corner of our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we have Paula Hall, the chair of the Sweetwater School Board. And an IB resident.
Good evening, Mayor Dedina and council members. It's good to be here. I am Paula Hall, the president of the Sweetwater Union High School District School Board, and I want you to know that we're very pleased with the partnership that we've been working together now since 2014, building that relationship. And I'm glad that you have thought of us in this scape of change for the boulevard outside of Mar Vista High and along the route that our students take to get there. Their safety is of our utmost concern, and I know I personally, as a board member, have received emails from parents about students riding bikes and skateboards to school and their safety along that route. So I thank you for working with our district and this improvement, and I'm sure that we can find how that it will do good things for our students and for our community. So as a resident, thank you. I know it's important, and we ride bikes down there all the time, so I know it can be a little scary at times with traffic flow, so thank you. And that's all I have to say. We have other members of our district here, and I'll let them make comments when their names are called.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your support. And it's Moises Aguirre from the Sweetwater Union School High School District. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, and city staff. The fact I think that there's a number of us here from Sweetwater Union High School District really speaks to the nature of our positive and growing partnership, including at the Pool of Mar Vista. And in this instance, we're here to support the amendment that's being brought forward. Our focus is on student safety as well as circulation generally. We believe this amendment really supports improving safety for our students. We also believe it will help the circulation and just overall the culture and the climate of our this space that we share together. So overall, we support it. And again, we thank you and look forward to growing our partnership. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Mr. Rich Carrion, Principal of Mar Vista High, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mayor Danina, Mayor Pro Tem West, council members. Happy and humble to be the principal here at Mar Vista High and always seeing your guys' faces around my school, so thank you. Being around Imperial Beach for years and seeing what's happened here, I'm really excited, where it's going. When I tell people I'm the principal of Mar Vista High, they say, wow, Imperial Beach has changed a lot over the past 10, 20 years, so I really appreciate it. In regards to the project that we have coming up, I'm really excited about it. When I got to Mar Vista High as principal in 2016, the project on Elm Street just started, and it is beautiful. Our kids love it. I see it, how wide the sidewalks are. I was coming over here today, people just cruising side to side in front of our school, before school and after school, especially after school. And I hear the skateboards clack right when they walk out the door and they're cruising down the street. I've come to embrace that a lot before. I was like, what's that noise? But now it's just, our kids are perfect when they're cruising down the street. It's a safe place for them. They're not just going through the middle of the street. I remember what it looked like prior to me walking onto campus. So I'm really appreciative of the wide, safe sidewalks in front of our school. And that's what I'm speaking about specifically. Andy and his team, Hank Levine at the time, who was supporting us and always being really a good listener of what our needs were for our students and making adjustments as needed. Throughout the project, it was seamless. I'm excited, and I'm always thankful about the collaboration that we have on many different projects here. The safety concerns that we've shared with you have been listened to. We've shared a few of them, and you guys have just been outstanding. And Bobby has a son at my school as well. So that's always important. So I know that he's a great listener as well. So those things are at the forefront of the safety of our kids, and you guys have taken care of it. So I'm excited. You made the curb appeal at the front of our school beautiful. Our kids are taking care of it pretty darn well. So I'm really happy with them. And I'm looking forward to that backside because Mar Vista High School clearly has two entrances, Ivy Boulevard and on Elm Street. And just as many kids come to the front side as the back side of campus. And it makes it, I think it's a great thing to have two entrances. I know we have a lot of projects coming up at our school. I know risk management and my assistant principal of that safety always says you can't do this, but I would love to have like a bike path from the front of school to the back of the school, and that would be on our side of the house. But I don't know what my boss would say or anybody else, but I just embrace it that much. So I want to say thank you. The wide sidewalks are paying dividends at the front of campus. I'm excited what it's going to look like on Imperial Beach Boulevard. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Now we have Maya Rosas from Circulate San Diego.
I forgot the. Good evening. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Maya Rosas. I am the Policy Director for Circulate San Diego. So Circulate San Diego, of course, is supportive of this project and Imperial Beach's ongoing commitments to creating safe streets for everyone on the road. I wanted to share what I just handed out is some data on collisions in Imperial Beach, and we haven't fully released that publicly yet, but I'm sharing it here now, breaking news. But what this shows is that your project is going to save lives. Imperial Beach Boulevard is the second most dangerous corridor in Imperial Beach, and 4 of the 10 most dangerous intersections in your city are on Imperial Beach Boulevard. So truly, this project, when implemented, will be saving lives of your neighbors. So thank you for doing that. I wanted to talk briefly about parking. It's really great when you see a complete streets project like this truly benefit everyone. And so this project, of course, will be benefiting pedestrians, bicyclists, scooter riders, as well as drivers with the increased parking. So your staff and consultants have done an incredible job with that. I want to caution on giving too much new space to parking, because there's always a trade-off, right? That you can't create space out of nowhere. So my question for you, which I couldn't tell from looking at the documents, is if you converted the parallel parking to angled parking on 3rd and 4th, what is the trade-off there? What are you losing? And of course, that's your decision to make. I also wanted to caution strongly against taking away precious boardwalk space to create more parking, especially when there is a net gain overall in this project. That is unique space that most cities would give a lot to be able to have access to resources like this and to create such a beautiful project like this. So please preserve that. I just think that this is a phenomenal project. The road diet is incredible. The reduction in lanes and in the making the lanes narrower will slow down cars just a little bit, as has been shown, just a tiny little bit, but the trade-off is worth it. Again, it will literally save lives. The bike lanes, of course, are important. I couldn't tell if there's any physical protection or if it's just separated with a spatial barrier, but it would be great if it doesn't have that physical protection to plan in the future for being able to add that. So Imperial Beach is doing a phenomenal job. Kudos to you, and really looking forward to seeing this happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate this, the data here. And I don't know if we can, we have this, do you have any more copies of this to pass out to the public or make available to the public? Okay, yeah, anyway, if anybody, we can pass them around, but really appreciate that data. Really helpful. Thank you so much. And now it's always our pleasure to have former Imperial Beach Mayor and our former Congressman Brian Bilbray. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to apologize to you and the council because I'm not going to stay long at this meeting. Actually, it's the anniversary of the date that my wife and I lost our first baby. So I just think that's probably the obligation to be there. But I'm really here because I'm the only one here that was sitting where you are sitting today, 40 years ago, making a decision about IB Boulevard. And I think it was even before we renamed it IB Boulevard.
And when you renamed it, you came to my high school class and you showed off the street sign that you changed. I never forget that.
I'm glad I left an impression. Look, I appreciate staff working on this, but there was items that I think that you need to look at very quickly, and that is, it'd be great to have the promenade. The promenade will be a fantastic contribution. It'll be an anchor, but it will not be an anchor if it's surrounded by congested traffic. And I think the one thing here you can do is if you work on the intersections, things like Seacoast, getting the movements following the pattern. You have 1,600 units down in South Seacoast. Those people don't have a choice to drive. They have to drive. You need to make sure that you design for that for the next 40 years, Mr. Chairman, not for the next year. And what really concerned me was the consultant said, well, it'll take it fine now. I had the privilege of representing every coastal community in San Diego County personally, except for Oceanside. There's not nothing anywhere half as dynamic as Imperial Beach. We're changing so fast that you need to give that common sense to the staff and the consultants that you saw what IB used to be and you see what it is now. You need to make sure they accommodate the demand on this road for people to have access not just to their homes, but to the beach. And that means you're going to have to do a lot more than what most people do. This council has taken a strong action on air pollution. You stood up on climate change. You now have to really stand by what we used to say on the environmental, the South Bay Action Committee, that you need to think globally, but act locally. There's no reason, in my opinion, to downgrade the traffic patterns as being proposed here. You should be looking at how can we maintain and enhance it. We don't need to be punitive against cars to be for pedestrians and to be for bicycles. And that the real way you can do it is looking at being brave enough to change your intersections and addressing that. This downgrade concerns me. And it concerns me because 10, 20, 30 years ago, when some of you still may be around, you don't want to have this great promenade backed up with pollution. And you don't want to have to face the world and say, yeah, we didn't really worry about air pollution. It wasn't a big deal. It's a focus that you brought forward if it's addressed right. So please, let's do it right. So you can look back in 40 years and say, I'm proud of that. I am proud that we put those islands in, but I'm very concerned about little details like restricting traffic. And I'll say this, Mr. Mayor, I heard them talk about cutting down 40-year-old trees that we planted. You can't replace those. 2nd Street, they talked about the trees should be removed on the south side. I asked every one of you, drive down 2nd Street where I grew up, and it doesn't block the view. Even if you just trim the branches, you wouldn't have to cut down the tree. So don't destroy the trees because a consultant, it's your job to take their ideas and make it fit for the needs and the desires and the future of Imperial Beach. They won't be around. Some of you will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Now we have Valerie Estevez from the Imperial Beach Chamber of Commerce.
Hello, Mayor, Council, and staff. Personally, I live on 9th and Ivy Boulevard right there. And so when we saw the presentation at the chamber and the network breakfast, I started watching what was going on in that intersection. And I didn't realize how many kids went through that area. And it's pedestrians, it's skateboards, it's bikes, it's cars. I'm totally, as a personal, 100% for this. It just makes sense just after watching that. The Chamber of Commerce is also behind this and we're supporting it. We got great presentation from the staff on what was coming. We're going to support this project and these projects, we think these improvements are long overdue. We applaud the estuary information that's being processed and we thank you for bringing it. One thing I would like to ask about, and that as a chamber and driving down that way, is on 4th. If you guys are going to be doing all that parking, it's dangerous now when you turn onto 4th because cars park there and it literally looks like a one lane. So if you're going to make those improvements, if you could possibly look at that 4th Street as maybe making a small change on that one, that would be the only thing. Otherwise, it's all.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Then we have Bob Miller. And after Bob, we have Dante Pamintuan from the who's the chair of the Design Review Board. Then we have John Keating. Then we have Carol Seabury and Travis Brazil. If you guys want to just line up and just so we can get people moving, that'd be great. Mr. Miller,
Bob
thank
Miller, co-chair of Sea Coasters, 1167 5th Street. Thank you very much to the staff for putting this project forward and to Eric Minishili for presenting this to the Seacoasters some time back at our last meeting. It was certainly well received at our meeting, and the general consensus was that Seacoasters support this project. I'd like to focus just on the 3rd Avenue or 3rd Street to Seacoast Drive. These design components are really impressive. That's number one. And number two, I'm very happy about the interpretive signage I think that's the public needs to know how important this body of water is, this wetlands is. There's probably one of the most important wetlands in the entire West Coast. There's no railroads through it. There's no major roadways through it. And there's very few natural places that are more important than an estuary. And the public, it also has this where you're talking about all the viewing and promenade areas. This gives a very good opportunity for the public to view the estuary and also connect with our partners across the border. So this is really something very special, and you just can't, like Steve just said earlier, that you got one chance at this. It's just got to be right. I mean, this is a great opportunity. I'd like to say one other thing. We've lost in California. We've lost, and this, you can read this anywhere, 90% of our wetlands. And the interpretive is we need to educate the public how important this open space is, what it does for the environment, and I think this really helps that message to get out. And I also think this is kind of an introduction to Seacoast Drive. In other words, what a beautiful gateway into our new Seacoast Drive, and I hope our new hotel, if we can keep that one going. So let's hope so anyway. The other thing would be this Seacoast, the Imperial Beach Boulevard. Now you're making a lot of changes, and I'm sure that you're concerned. You're talking to the traffic engineers to make sure that nothing happens that's going to cause a problem. So traffic engineers along Seacoast Drive is very, very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Miller. Mr. Pimentuan.
Mayor, council members, city staff, hello again. Dante Pimentuan, East Lane, Seaside Point. Talking on Design Review Board. I'm the chair of the Design Review Board. And boy, did we have a meeting last time. It was a total of 4 hours from 4 to 8. 2 of the 4 was dedicated to receiving public input from the residents. And we got a lot of—
Double your pay.
We don't get paid for that. It's all volunteers. But I wanted to just reiterate our team. Our team is committed to the mission statement of the City of Imperial Beach, and that's maintain the classical beach town feel here of Southern California. And we're all experts in our own field. We have an architect there. We have a landscape designer. We have a veteran affairs specialist. We have a naval security officer, and we have a realtor Lyft driver. So there are lots of people that are involved. You allow us to get perspective and to shoot it back at you and give you a different perspective on these projects that come before us. So there were 4 areas that, and I want to thank the city staff, Eric and Michael, the landscaper, and Ryan, and Juan, excellent presentation. Thank you for all that information. It helped us to gather all the information and look at it from another perspective for the residents. Because that's really who we're trying to serve, right? Is the residents combined with the people that attend the school at Mar Vista. So I get that. But there were 2 concerns, and they had to deal with public safety. Always safety first when these types of projects get presented to us. The first one was on the boardwalk. When you have, and Steve, I wanna, if you can, wanted to correct Steve about the 24-foot width. We had a citizen come in and did a tape measure, 24 feet, and if you cut off 7 feet 9 inches, it comes out to still have about 17 feet left, which is still more than double the standard size of a sidewalk in that boardwalk area. So we had a concern about bicycle and pedestrian traffic getting mixed in there. So there were discussions about keeping the bike lane off of that boardwalk just for that safety. The other concern was the level of service going from A to B. And I know former Congressman Bray addressed the incoming traffic into the city. but you have to look at the outgoing traffic. There are now more dual income households here in Imperial Beach working, and they got to get to the freeway. So that was one concern. Those were the two concerns. The other two concerns.
We're going to wrap it up.
Oh, yeah, I'll wrap them. There was just two other ones. That was the Eastern Gateway with the IB colors, the blue logos. That was wonderful. And then the median removed from the center. That was another public safety issue. Okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thanks for all your work on that with the DRB. Mr. Keating.
Good evening, John Keating. I'm a resident of Imperial Beach. I'm also a traffic engineer. I own a traffic engineering firm of 20 people. So I bring that up because I'm used to looking at plans like this, streetscape plans, and I want to tell you that I'm very confident in the team that you have, Michael Baker International, Mr. Zellers. They're first class. You're in very good hands. They'll give you a great quality project. One of the things I like about the project is the enhancement for the bike lanes, because the complete absence of any bicycle accommodation, the third, is being corrected by this. So I'm very comfortable with the project. I'm very comfortable with the road diet, going to the one lane like we've seen on Palm. This, the road diet is not a problem. I'm going to be personally affected by this every day, and I'm not worried about my ability to be able to get in and out of my house on Seacoast. Also, staff's done a great job of leveraging the money. $1 for $26 of outside money. That is huge. And as we all know, leveraging public dollars, investments in public investments always leads to private investments after that, as we've seen in the other quarters we've done these streetscape and complete street projects. So you're doing a great job. Keep it up, and I hope you vote for these resolutions. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Good to have you here. Carol Seabury.
Hello, Carol Seabury, resident homeowner here. Long time resident, born and raised here. And I just have a concern about you guys closing so many lanes down to emergency vehicles. I see emergency vehicles trying to get through 9th Street now that it's changed a bit, at the Palm. And people don't even move to the side of the road. So what's it going to be like when there's a drowning or something up at the beach and our emergency vehicles need to get up there and there's no place for anyone to move over for the fire department or ambulances to get through. So I think you need to keep that in mind too, because I just see road blockage for any emergency vehicle to get there. So that was my concern. And the evacuation, I don't know if we're ever going to have a tsunami here, but I feel like we're all going to drown because we're not going to get out of town, So I think those are my two biggest concerns. So if you take that in consideration. And you're doing a fabulous job. I like what you do around town. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Travis Brazil.
Mayor, council, staff. I've been a resident of Imperial Beach for 20 years. And in that 20 years, let's fast forward to present. I have seen an incredible renaissance. I'm looking at this project here, and I think it is fabulous. I support it 100%. I do have a little concern on the traffic flow. I live on South Seacoast, and there's only 2 major exits out of that area, and that's IB Boulevard and Palm Avenue. My second concern is, and I have not seen this in anything I've read, and that's lighting. And I think that lighting is such an important part of the overall design. But let me say again, I live just across the street from the Estuary, and that is one of the things about the first and second thing I do in the morning with a cup of coffee sometimes is visit that Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love your Aloha shirt, by the way. It's great. I love your Aloha shirt. I think that'd be a great official IB shirt. So thank you so much for brightening up our council chambers. Kathy Markey. Kathy here. Oh, there you go.
Good evening, council members. I spoke about a month ago on this particular project, and I am still opposed to the parking median in the middle of the street. I would like to see the curbside parking, like you had mentioned, the alternate plan. And as far as public safety, people are already doing U-turns when there's no U-turn signs there. So maybe you can put a sheriff there to stop them for now, since they're breaking the law. And as far as the plants that you're going to put in, there's a highly toxic plant here that you have on the display, the fire stick. It can blind you if somebody in the public picks it, touches their eyes, they'll go blind. So I hope you don't put that in. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out. Nancy Dayton. After Nancy is Janice Neal, then Darnisha Hunter, then Richard Dick Pilgrim, and then John Munns, and then Baron Partlow.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and employees. Excuse me, Nancy Dayton, 1330 5th Street. I have a concern on this, as I seem to be coming in and out of 5th Street when all of the students from Mar Vista are going in and out. And these kids do not think, nor do the parents, anything of making U-turns or walking back and forth across the street. To me, putting diagonal parking in that area is going to enhance that problem. And I'm really concerned. The other thing I'm concerned about is our in and out of Imperial Beach. We have changed Palm Avenue, and if you've ever done this between 3 and 6 o'clock at night, it is backed up from the freeway to 9th Street. Now, we have tsunamis, and I live in the tsunami area. Don't change IB Boulevard. I want to get out of here if we end up with one. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's beautiful.
Janice Neal.
Well, good evening, everybody. I've lived here since I was in the 2nd grade, and this brought me. I've been to meetings, but it's the first time I've been at the podium. I lived on Palm Avenue for a short time. I'm now living in my family home on 7th Street. But I was very relieved to get off of Palm Avenue after the massive improvements that have already been done there. Because I'm all for bicycles, I'm all for pedestrians, but I'm with Nancy in the fact that you have posted tsunami warnings for us. But it seems like at this point, if you make this everything one lane, how do we get out of here? And it's not just tsunami. There could be a variety of problems that could take place. And how do we get out? How does help get in? And I'm just like to say I'm opposed to this project.
Thank you. Darnisha Hunter.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I want to thank Steve, his team, Tyler, all you guys did a really good job. I want to thank you for being late with us on Wednesday night till I got here about 8:34 to 9, but it was worth it. I do support the project, but with some amendments. Some of them were illustrated or shared on the screen, so I want to go ahead and talk about those. On the boardwalk, and Dante alluded to this, so 24 feet, what we asked was for it to be cut back to 16 or 14 feet and do angled parking, because the proposed hotel comes in there with those 80 rooms and 60 employees and more people come into our community on Seacoast, we need more parking. And one of the things staff mentioned is one or the other. Do you want more planters? Do you want more benches? Or do you want more places to park? And we voted for more places to park for our community. The planters and the benches are great. Looking at the boardwalking, having one side dedicated to pedestrian and then one side dedicated to bikes, we need to post mileage at 8 miles an hour so people aren't getting ran over. because anything faster than that, people will get hurt. Even at 8 miles, they can get hurt. If we do not designate it, people will do whatever they want to do. We also talked about, reading my notes here, the civic zone. I agree with the community about taking out the mediums. I am concerned about taking out the mediums and reducing those lanes to one-way traffic going east and west on that. One of the things staff said to me when I mentioned that if there was a natural disaster, God forbid we never ever get a tsunami or fire or an active shooter in the area and we have to evacuate people, that they would take those 2 lanes and make it 3 lanes and we could use that middle space. So for the community that's out there that's wondering about that for public safety, that's what was shared with us. Also, we talked about, I see I'm almost out of time. We talked about the medium in front of Mar Vista High School. My question, by parking in the medium diagonally, how many more parking spots would we receive? We didn't get an answer on that because they hadn't calculated that. The other question I had was, how safe is it for me as a parent to park there, let my child out of my car and walk across to Mar Vista when there is no crosswalk? And what I was told, there really isn't enough space for you to get out of your car safely and exit it. And our suggestion was then do not have the medium in the middle of the street. We did talk about parking on the north side of the street from Mar Vista. It made better sense. There's already a crosswalk there and people could cross safely. And that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Mr. Pilgrim?
Mayor, council, staff, I'm Dick Pilgrim, 1182 Fifth Street. I agree with folks along the estuary. You know my love for that. I think that's great. Bob Miller, Andy, Chris all stated that. My concern is with the civic segment. Now, I ride a bike regularly from 5th to 9th. I'm one of the few because that tends to be a little older area. However, my neighbors on either side now are brand new. There's little kids moving in down there. And riding your bike, and I'm not talking, it's bad enough when Mar Vista High School is coming and going, but riding your bike in any time along there is a little careful, especially when you want to make a turn. Coming back, I go to the breakwater and I ride my bike back with some groceries in the back, and I have to make a left turn off of IB Boulevard on the 5th. Could be the same at California or Loudon or East. And I get in that middle lane because there is enough traffic with a bicycle that you don't just whip over there. You've got to look behind you because of the gap, the light at 9th, plus the blinking light at Connecticut. Traffic can come through there and it can get to moving pretty fast, and you've got to keep your wits about you. If you have diagonal parking in the middle, there's not a chance that a bicyclist, frankly, doesn't have, and I have an electric bike. I can get up a lot faster propulsion than a regular bike rider. So that bothers me. That really concerns me there. And I'm sorry I didn't get to present this at the design review board, Dante. I had an emergency and couldn't come to the design review board. And that's my primary thing, is the turns along IB Boulevard. If you have median parking, it's very difficult for a bicycle, and that's who we're trying to do, is encourage bicycles and pedestrians. And the kids, the pedestrians, we all know there's problems there. They're cutting across the street. That's the joys of a teenager. They're immortal. We know that. But thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pilgrim. Mr. Munns?
Mayor, council, staff, my name's John Munns. I've lived in Imperial Beach for 32 years, and I appreciate the work that has been done to improve the quality of life in this city. And I think for the most part, this project looks really good, but I agree with some of the people who have gotten up here and voiced their concerns about parking. I think not what do you call angle parking in the median down by the estuary zone is fine. I think between 4th and 7th, it doesn't make any sense. Today, I live on 5th Street, and I'm going out, I've got to run an errand, and I wish I'd gone down one of the other side streets because I forgot but I was amazed. They're just running us the street.
We feel your pain.
And if you put parking there, they're gonna be going between cars. Boom. They're gonna be gone. So I would highly recommend that you don't put parking in the median there for many of the reasons that some of the other people said. Dangerous for pedestrians, dangerous for bicyclists. I think you ought to, I don't want to see the street get all that narrow, and I like to ride my bike. I just don't ride down that street, especially along here, because people are driving too fast. May want to consider changing the speed limits. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your feedback. Appreciate it. Mr. Partlow?
Aaron Partlow, 1868 Catella Street, San Diego, California, 92154, Council. I was going to get up here and talk about the tsunami evacuation route and the choke points that have been created at Palm Avenue and the stop signs on Elm doing the same. It's already been mentioned. I'm going to mention something along those routes. There's a plan in effect called the Managed Retreat off the coast because of rising ocean levels. Now, at the estuary, I'm sure, and other places along Seacoast, we've seen flooding happen without a tsunami. It goes downhill, you know, and the estuary along South Seacoast can meet the Pacific Ocean. And there's a managed retreat plan in effect already that has not been worked out in all its detail to pull back from the coast. Now, I'm not knocking the plan. I'm not knocking bicycle and pedestrian safety. But where are we going with this thinking? The ocean level is rising. It's gonna happen. It's not if. The tsunami's an if, and it's a pretty big if, but we could still take a lesson from Sumatra and from Fukushima. A big lesson. Thank God they've taken San Onofre off a line and takes that out of the equation. However, the ocean level is rising, and there is a managed retreat plan into effect. I have not heard any mention of the mitigation of that circumstance, let alone the failure to mention the tsunami evacuation route plan while still choking Imperial Beach Boulevard as an escape route. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Partlow. Additionally, we have letters from, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters I have in the public record. From Karen Odermatt, Diane Rose, former Mayor Diane Rose, Michael Carey, Rachel and Melinda Willicke, and Autumn Wallace all support the project. Diane Rose and Michael Carey do indicate that they're concerned about the parking in the median. So, and Diane Rose has 2 letters, actually one supporting the project, one indicating her concern about exactly that civic area. So appreciate all that feedback. Did I miss any? Did I miss it? Anybody? Okay, let me make sure I got that. Okay, great. Mr. Patton. I want to thank everybody for all those comments. Appreciate it. I really appreciate everyone coming out.
Yeah, definitely some great comments. First of all, I want to say I support the partnership that we have with the Sweetwater District Board President Paula Hall here and the rest of the Sweetwater team that came. That takes a lot, and we appreciate that. Thank you. I want to talk about the parking in front of the median parking in front of Mar Vista High School. I think that type of median parking is a great idea. However, not in that location. I would like to see it somewhere in our town. I bet there's a fit for that type of parking somewhere. But in front of Mar Vista High School, I support the curbside parking. I did have a question about the U-turns. Right now, currently, there's no U-turn signs where people, you know, make illegal U-turns, or they drive through all the side streets, Connecticut and Loudon Lane, and kind of interfere with those nice neighborhoods. So what's going to happen with the U-turns? Are U-turns going to be allowed on Seacoast? I mean, on IB Boulevard, or?
I can go ahead and answer it. Exactly. They will now be allowed because now they can be made by changing the design of the roadway and separating the east and west traffic a little bit. You can now kind of physically make that turn when today you can't. You'd be 3-point turning in the westbound or eastbound lane, and so that's why it's prohibited today. With the design changes, the whole concept out there is to get people to make that U-turn on IB Boulevard and stop them from going down California 5th and those areas.
Yeah, it's a great idea because it's a catch-22. You make a U-turn and get a ticket, or you have to drive through somebody's neighborhood. So I'm glad that's solved. And then I'm curious.
So wait, are you in favor of the U-turns or not? in favor of-
Yes, U-turn.
You
I
want
didn't know that was a question.
Okay.
I didn't know that was 1, 2, 3, 4. That wasn't
I
one.
just want to make sure.
No, but yeah, I like U-turn. And then I'm curious about the sidewalk in front of Mar Vista High School. Is there any plan for any design, especially for their school, like on Elm, where they have inspirational quotes or specific emblems or anything ornate that was in that plan? And if not, I think we should continue that theme like we do in front of Elm.
Specific to that question, we know that the sidewalk gets wider there. I think it's up to about 8 feet wider, 8 to 10 in that location. I don't know that we did any specialized treatment in that location, but that can, of course, can be accommodated. There's a cost to that, but that's, you know.
Can I
that's
throw in a
something that
question as
can
well?
be
Just-
addressed.
Originally, Hank Levine had talked about getting rid of my obsession with chain link fences, getting rid of the chain link fence as part of this project. Is that something that we're throwing in there?
We are having a lot of conversations with the school on that because it's a big ticket item, but it's something that I agree needs to happen.
We love your school. We hate those chain link fences. Oh, they're not here. All
So,
right.
so is that a yes for chain link? or
No, it's a no. It's
Okay.
a chain link fence.
All right,
Anyway, I'm
just-
sorry to interrupt.
Okay, I just checking. Okay. I know it's a no. Then my the design.
So currently it's just standard concrete in front of that school, but if there was, we got a direction to change that, you know, there'd be a cost to it, but it's something that can be accommodated, certainly.
Maybe it's just something you could look into, maybe possibly come up with a couple cost-effective, simple things that really, you know, makes that school shine even more. Because that school's going to be having this great upgrade coming up. I think if we could tap into that upgrade,
Absolutely, we can look into it.
if people support me
That's
on
a good
that.
point.
And then next, the current road diet is going to add how many seconds of commute time? I heard 11 seconds. Is that correct?
Hi, I'm Ryan Zellers. I'm the project manager and traffic engineer. For the delay, approximately 11 seconds, and that's considering average day kind of volumes that we're talking about, and that's during the peak hours. So during non-peak hours, there really won't be any sort of delay change.
Okay. So my thought was, you think 11 seconds per car, and I was doing all the math, and you know, that's thousands and thousands of hours of emission over the years and you know, we're such a environmental responsible city. Is there any way we could gain those 11 seconds back somehow? And I was thinking, you know, the stop sign on 4th Street and Ivy Boulevard going from east to west, and you know, a lot of people say it's not needed. Like today, I stopped there a few times and I counted up to 15 seconds as I stopped, or if I was behind 5 cars, it was like 25 seconds. And I think if we could look in the future of, and I know it wouldn't be a big cost because you're just removing a stop sign. But if we could look in the future and say, you know, is this really needed? We have new machines now, you know, that we could do nice surveys. And other than that, I like Mr. Bazell's point on lighting. I didn't think about that too. So, and what are the plans for lighting?
I can go ahead and bring up Mike Peltz, and he can talk about a bit of the lighting that we're talking about down in the estuary.
Hi, my name is Mike Peltz. I'm landscape architect for the project. And we talked about the estuary and the lighting on the estuary. There's a couple of factors. One is that we're trying to avoid post lights because predatory birds like the roost up there and pick off their targets. And so the estuary folks were kind enough to educate us and talk to us about that. So what we're envisioning for the estuary piece are low-level bollards spaced about 50 feet on center. And so there'll be a pool of light that you're walking to. So it's not overwhelming. It's not bright at night. It's not, you know, blinding bright, but it'll be enough to feel secure on that path. and to give a nice just glow to the boardwalk itself. So that's the idea for lighting along the boardwalk. The majority of the project that's not on the boardwalk, I believe the lighting philosophy there is to maintain the existing lights that we have on the street. Yeah, that is the
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It looks like a great project, and thanks for the presentation. It was a great presentation. Thank you. That's all. That's all I have for now.
I don't have anybody else to speak or to. Councilmember Bragg.
Thank you. This is a beautiful project. And I forget which speaker it was, but especially the estuary component of it. You know, when you arrive somewhere and you think to yourself, I really like this location, and maybe you don't know why. And there's some intangibles. And you just say to yourself, this is a great place. But those intangibles become tangibles with some of the things that we're talking about. And Steve and Eric, I just kind of would like to go through maybe for my benefit, each segment, maybe you can put out what the alternatives are. I think we've heard from the community, there's a great deal of consensus on some of these issues. I have my own. When we had our briefing, we did talk about that. And to the speaker from the state parks, I too am very disappointed and have been over the years about the attendance at the estuary. So if we can create a nice placemaking component to this project and woo people into that, I've always desired that would have many more visitors than 100 people. That's not very much. So I too would enjoy a lot more people visiting that world-class destination. I do have my concerns. Mr. Patton brought them up as well. The stop signs, I know we're not considering at this point removing any, but I would urge us to really look at that wherever we can for the reasons that have been cited. I think she's probably left. I don't know if Myra Rosas is still here for providing this information on accidents. I had asked for that. And I would like our sheriff's department to kind of weigh in on that as well for the accuracy on this. Our staff knows that I'm always on the phone with them about accidents in this community and where are they at and when are they happening, and more importantly, why are they happening? Is it because of speeding or what, people not paying attention, whatever the reasons are? I'm concerned about the U-turns. That whole section about the U-turns, I do not support that. I think that if people are making illegal U-turns and doing crazy things, why would we legalize that? And on that one section there, I do have a question about the length of that turn lane, that U-turn lane. I think it's 100 feet. I'm wondering, if we are going to go that route, can we make that longer? Because I'm afraid that if there are more than 4 or 5 cars, maybe one of you have a highlighter and can pinpoint that. I'm afraid that as those cars start backing up, so will traffic. And so anybody desiring to go further west on IB Boulevard is now going to be stuck there. I would also like you to address, we've heard from almost everybody about the evacuation components of this. I would like you to give a little bit more clarification on that if you could. I'm concerned about the removal of light standards anywhere in this community. It's been a desire of this community or this council, previous councils, to install lighting wherever we can. I think the project manager you had said lighting bollards every 50 feet. To me, that leaves a pretty dim roadway right there. I did want to talk about just a little bit about some of the plantings on the boulevard there down by the estuary as well. I hope that we consider plantings that change seasonally so that they're not all green at the same time, so that throughout the year, maybe we have dogwood and boxwood, and we also look at maybe some Madagascar palms, just different palms. Our go-to palm seems to be, a date palm or a queen palm. I'd really like to explore something a little bit more exotic that would be able to survive down there. I wanted to, and I suggested this at our staff meeting, that we also, at the corner of IB Boulevard and Seacoast Drive, in anticipation of our new hotel there, that we actually install some wayfaring signage, perhaps on the sidewalk, embedded in the sidewalk, so that guests at the hotel, we want them to go on the, I guess it would be the south side of the street. So signage embedded in the sidewalks, wayfaring to kind of direct people over there. I think that's going to be the safer side of the street. So that would be my suggestion on that. I did have a question further up on the, at the intersections. What is the current width of, let's just say, Florida and Elm, or excuse me, Florida and Ivy Boulevard? What is the current width from curb to curb? And then with the bulb outs, what will be the width? Because I think that that narrowing, that's a pretty narrow street already. We did discuss cars going up on the curb, that kind of thing. So is there a standard bulb out size, or can you kind of design it the way you want to so that it's not so intrusive into those lanes? I know those are a lot of questions. I hope you wrote them down and are prepared to answer them. Thank you.
I'll take my best shot. As far as the first question was really related to the U-turn, again, we did get a lot of comment from the community about the issue with folks making the U-turns down on Fifth Street in their driveways and on California and such. So one of the main desires in this location was to find a way to let those folks drop off their kids and U-turn out of, keep them in Imperial Beach Boulevard and right back out of town. Again, these U-turns are happening, a couple times a day. It's drop off and pick up. And there was a focus on trying to find a way to make it physically possible here so that it's not, you don't see the 3-point turn kind of stuff and the blocking of traffic with the U-turns. We're trying to make it so, to meet the design standards that need to be met as far for having a car make that U-turn with no difficulty. So that we are trying to solve an issue there. The issue of the median parking at this location was trying to kill two birds with one stone. We could have had the ability to make that U-turn, plus maybe pick up 3 or 4 parking spaces in this zone. We've heard from the community. We came up with an alternative. We're very comfortable with this alternative that lets people make that U-turn. And we have a net gain of 0 parking in that area instead of picking up a few. But the project, as we've noted, picks up well over 50. Just as in its standard design, and that's how we're keeping it.
Mr. Minicelli, if I could interrupt you there. So what would the scenario be if somebody was at, I forget what street it is, they're going to be wanting to make a left-hand turn, let's say, but now they have all these cars queued up waiting to make a U-turn. What happens to that driver that's waiting to make a left-hand turn?
Well, hopefully they take their turn and stop at that stop sign. So let's say at Fifth Street, there's a stop sign there, and you're talking about folks attempting to make at Fifth Street, making a left-hand turn and heading west. And let's say there's a queue of cars on Imperial Beach Boulevard waiting to make a left turn, or either a U-turn or a left turn down Fifth. And just like today, the person waiting at Fifth Street needs to wait until there's a clear spot before they can just simply go out into the roadway. That doesn't really change as far as this project. What changes is at this location is that they now would have the ability to make the U-turn, and you don't have those folks going down Fifth. We're trying to keep traffic on Fifth, California, those kind of streets, residential. We're trying to, this is arterial traffic that we want to keep on the arteries of the roadway. And so, hopefully that person on Fifth obeys the traffic laws and waits for a break. The nice part is we don't have traffic signals to the west here. So with the traffic signal, you queue up a bunch of cars and they all come flying down at the same time. We have stop signs to the west. And so there's natural gaps in the traffic coming from the west. And so making those U-turns, there should be plenty of gaps. Again, the traffic in this location is not heavy. There should be plenty of natural gaps for those people to make those U-turns and head on back out of town or back to their homes to the east. Is what we've planned here.
Okay. So you're anticipating just a natural cadence of vehicular traffic coming east?
Exactly.
Okay. Has there been any traffic analysis done there at that intersection as far as numbers of cars turning, numbers of people being dropped off? Is there any analysis at all?
Here's our traffic study. It goes into great detail about very specific segments about what kind of traffic volumes we're seeing. And the volumes west of 9th, they tail off quite a bit. And we don't see, this project, future project, the volumes are really manageable for traffic in this, and certainly west of 9th.
Okay. Thank you. Did you want to address, if you would, please, the evacuation, that issue has been raised several times, and not only just in an emergency situation, but I think you have some plans as well for special event traffic management as well.
Exactly. The one of the bigger benefits of the project, especially from Seacoast to Third, and hopefully, if we talk about the amendment between Third and Fourth, right now on that roadway, you've got one lane in each direction. You have a turn lane in the middle, but the turn lane has medians and trees and whatnot in the middle of that roadway. The turn lane, in our opinion, and the numbers showing, is really kind of wasted space out there. You're not turning. There's no driveways to the south. It doesn't make a ton of sense. With the redo, by eliminating that turn lane, we now have 2 lanes of traffic right next to each other. And with the bike lanes, you can actually facilitate 3 lanes of traffic getting out of town from Seacoast to at least Fourth. And for us, emergency planning, tsunami route, that's a great way out of town. At least when we look at, certainly from Seacoast to Fourth, and that's where the tsunami would kind of reach.
And that was a backup for during the fireworks, because I was riding my bike. It was all backed up before 4th.
Exactly. Right. Now, I think what you also mentioned with special events, opportunity here is excellent during fireworks. We can actually go ahead and 4th of July, if this part of it is built, we'll look at instituting a traffic plan out there and go ahead and see if we can get 2 lanes of traffic heading east for post fireworks situation, and see if that helps alleviate the traffic we have on 4th of July. Right now, I think this last one took about an hour and 45 minutes for some folks for Imperial Beach to completely clear out. I think we have an opportunity, especially if we look at between 3rd and 4th, changing that, getting those meetings out of there to further enhance that ability to empty out that zone.
Okay. And currently the plan is to remove 2 light poles.
At this point, the current plan, we have 2 light standards on between Seacoast and Third, about a third of the way up the road on each side. The plan as it currently is envisioned is for those 2 to be removed, but we are adding quite a bit of low-level lighting along that entire stretch. Certainly alternatives could be considered.
And what would those alternatives be?
If we were told to kind of keep those up, that's an option. If we had to talk about maybe changing those standards, again, they're high, they're very tall. That we have heard from the estuary folks that they're not ideal for that location. We work for council. If there's a direction to go another route, we'd pursue that. I'll state that adding lights, depending on the standards, certainly can add a cost to a project.
Okay, I wasn't necessarily recommending that we add, but it is my advocacy that we do not remove. It's been my advocacy my entire 12 years on this council to maintain and add to lighting wherever we can. And then there's a tree that's going to be removed as well. Again, on my entire 12 years on this council, I have never advocated for removing trees. I certainly am not about to start now. I think that, and I think the date palm is up on, where is that one? Up on 13th, no, further up. And Mr. Hall, you and I had a discussion about that. Date palms can be very messy. So if that is going to be included, I think there is a method of getting a tree that does not produce dates that would not make a mess. I have 2 in my yard and they are pretty messy. You have done an excellent job. I think what would work for me now moving forward is to more or less separate the segments that you have designated. We can maybe perhaps take votes on each segment rather than just the entire project as a whole. That's what I would be looking for. This is a remarkable project. It was done. We had former Congressman Bill Ray address us about how long ago it was, 40 years ago. So when we build something in Imperial Beach, it's going to last 40 or 50 years. So when we have these opportunities, we only get them, maybe once every half a century. It's got to be done right. So I really do appreciate the public coming out and addressing these concerns and sharing them. They're very similar to what I have, and we've had other council members share their comments as well. But what truly motivating in these projects is the community's comment. So thank you for being here this evening. Thank you, staff. You guys have done an amazing job with this project. And Eric, I sense your passion and how much you've been excited about this project. I hope the community does too. It's quite a project. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. West.
First of all, I want to thank the Design Review Board, Mr. Palmaton, Miss Hunter. I think you guys did a great job on this, and really, I know that my discussions with staff afterwards have been your questions to them that they've relayed back to me were spot on. So I think your guys' hard work was really exceptional on this. And I agree with you, Lori. I think that Councilmember Bragg, the participation of our community in this project shows how much we really want to make sure that this succeeds. And even the people that are most against this project seem to say, you know what, I think a lot of this is really good and really are beneficial to our community. There's onesie, twosies, things here and there that I think we need to improve on. And that's why we open this dialogue, so we can get those onesie, twosies fixed for the next 40 years. I do have a question. When you're talking about diagonal parking, can you kind of elaborate what is the benefit of diagonal parking against curbside parking, and why were some of that put into our project, or why was that a recommendation? So could you elaborate a little bit on that, or Eric, can you want to?
Just generally diagonal parking per foot, you can fit more spaces. That's why you see diagonal parking is for a typical city block. If you've got angled parking versus curbside parking, you're going to be able to.
Is there other things?
You could for that. I'm not a traffic engineer. I know enough to be dangerous, but
I would say this. What he said there is just that the efficiencies of angled parking allow you to have more parking just per foot of curb space.
Does it affect the flow of traffic?
To some degree. I don't know if I would say that there's a real measurable amount that diagonal parking versus parallel parking, for example, affect the traffic flow. There are some considerations when you have diagonal parking next to bike lanes. In general, the bicycle community does not prefer to have angled parking next to a bike lane. In this particular case, we've shown a couple of examples. To try to mitigate that to some degree, we've added a couple feet, 2 to 3 feet, I believe, behind the parking stalls to the bike lane, just so that there's a little bit of more reaction time that a bicyclist can have before they can see tail lights coming, at them and being present within the bike lane. So that was a consideration. Part of that buffer is kind of the reason why we were looking at what happens to the estuary when you do add angled parking. We had to add that buffer. What ends up happening is that we do reduce it to, maybe 10 or so, 7 to 9 feet, I think is what was alluded to. So that's the effect of adding angled parking and the residual amount of sidewalk space. But I think I maybe answered your question about.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of studies that I've been reading that say that it actually reduces some of the flow, and the traffic that passes by it actually decreases. That is, for instance, if you're driving by it, it actually calms drivers down because
there is the effect of just general parking, and I don't know about angled parking different than parallel parking, but in general, what we're trying to do here is add friction. The friction may seem like it's a bad thing. I know people do want to be able to go from point A to point B in the most efficient way possible. But the ability to calm traffic does lower the speeds. The idea is trying to make those into manageable, safe speeds. I think what they were alluding to before in the Vision Zero packets that you can see there, when you lower the speeds to 35 miles per hour and less, the amount of casualties drops considerably. And under 25, then the survival chances of pedestrian versus vehicle accident really improve. So we don't want to see any accidents, but that's the idea, to slow down traffic. So yes, that the parking does add to that friction in traffic calming.
I've been doing a little bit of research about what we call shared spaces, and this whole thing about even taking it to the next level of completely removing stop signs, completely removing curbs and actually making these things where they're bringing them in. And there's a lot of there's a few communities that are in Florida that actually took out all of their stop signs, all of their traffic signals, all of their speed limit signs. And the reason why they did that is when you're driving, the theory behind this is that when you're paying attention to those things, you're actually removing your thought process. So in other words, you see the sign, I got to go 30 miles an hour, so I go 30 miles an hour. But when they start removing those, it actually puts your element of thought back into driving. So you are actually being a more thoughtful and conscientious driver when you're doing that without signs than when you are with signs. So it's a very interesting thing. And I know that the city of Seattle just went through they did a complete shared space, and they found that it made the community more walkable, more bikeable, and more friendly for all of our people. So I think we are conditioned to believe that signs are the best thing. But what they're starting to find out is that's always not true. So I'm very interested in. I think I do agree with what Councilmember Bragg and Councilmember Pat were talking about, is maybe looking at removing some stop signs to make it so we have a better flow of traffic in many ways. And so I open that. I do think that would you please, I talked to Andy Henshaw with the San Diego Bike Coalition, and I think most of you guys know that I'm a avid cycler that spends a lot of time riding my bike throughout communities, and I've ridden in every community probably in San Diego County. And I think that the things we did on 13th Avenue made that road much more biker friendly. I mean, it's a leap in the right direction. And I actually believe we are lucky. Imperial Beach, we probably have one of the safest communities for biking in all of our community. And the reason why, our main thoroughfare, the Bayshore Bikeway, is never intersected by a vehicle. Never once. Every other portion of the Bayshore Bikeway is intersected by at least one car. And in fact, when I ride in the morning through Coronado, I feel like I'm taking my life into my hands. So it's a big thing. And I think any way that we can make this better for bicyclists, I'm very excited about. Could you go back to the slides that show the 19th and 9th through 13th and the 9th through 3rd? Yeah, these. Wait, actually, not that fast. Go forward, and then the actual pictures where you put the cars up with the bicycle. Yep. This one, yeah. The next one. There you go. So I do like the idea of having some parallel parking on there, and I think that we can do that. I would one of the thought processes is actually to move the cars out to where the bicyclists are and put the bike lane on the other side of that. And that actually provides a protected barrier so bicyclists are not taken into account, and it doesn't remove parking at all. I mean, was that looked at all on this? Yeah, you can actually you can almost get a class 1 bikeway that way very easily. So was that looked at all?
To some degree, it was considered. We didn't look at the concept in great detail. I would say that when you do that, you do have to add in some sort of wheel stop or something so that the cars don't infringe into the bike area. There's a lot of maintenance concerns, I think, that are attached to that. On top of that, if there are any side streets or driveways, you do push the visibility, the sight lines out a little bit further. Where right now, I think you can kind of see through the bike lane and in the buffer area. When you put the cars further out, it makes it a little bit more challenging. I think we kind of stopped there. We didn't go much further. Did you have to add anything else?
We specifically looked at it between 3rd and 4th, where we were talking about adding the angled parking, and those issues came up. So we did look at it directly.
Did you look at something as simple as I know that this city of Seattle does they just do their light, like the little light truncate, right? And that just does a natural little separation. I mean, it could be, I think that would be something that I would like to see some more research, some more data on, because I think that's, as a bicyclist, and I know that one of our letters that was written to us also actually asked for some protected bike lanes. And I think we're at the point now where we need to do, Ziki, do you think we need to do some protected bike lanes? I agree. So I think that's something that we look at. And then I agree with Councilmember Bragg about the trees. I think that palms, I would actually try to look at trees that aren't palms in many ways because palm trees they don't provide a ton of shade. They're not really great for providing. I mean, there are better trees that absorb CO2, and they're better trees actually for doing natural things for our rest of our birds and things. So I think that's it. I love the idea of the design for the sidewalk in front of Mar Vista High too. I think that's something. And then answering your questions, you had 3 questions that you wanted to answer. So if you want to go back to that slide, I'll answer those. I am for removing the parking out of the center. I think we should go with the curbside parking. I think we should go with 45-degree angles, and I would like a wider edge by a smaller edge on the. Yep, that's it.
Thank you. First, thanks for all the work on this incredibly complex project that we seem to have moved through pretty quickly. So I appreciate it. My only comment on the amazing landscape design along the estuaries, I can't wait to see that on our bayside. You know, I was at the Society for American Landscape Architect award ceremony and saw these amazing designs for, I think, the San Diego River and other areas. And I'm like, wow, I can't wait to bring those back to IB. And then to see that on the estuary side is great. And I think it's such a great potential for Imperial Beach to see us enhance our natural areas with all kinds of great landscape design. So that's great. I just want to make sure we have consensus with the council. So the idea was that no medians around this Mar Vista High School thing. Is that the consensus we had? And then number 2, I like the idea of enhancing the sidewalk there. I love the idea of ripping out chain link fences and working with our high school to figure out just to improve that area because it just looks terrible. Sorry, Mar Vista. And I think that's it. So with that, I know Mr. Hall, you had a comment.
You know, first I wanted to commend the DRB and the city council for looking at this issue. And I wanted to point out some irony. I think most of the week I go through getting probably, I don't know, 50 to 100 emails throughout the community about how the speeds are too fast on the road. There's too many people driving fast and whatnot. And then, you know, this illustrates how difficult it is to make some of these decisions. What you hear tonight is, man, we can't slow this traffic down. We got to keep the traffic moving quickly. So I just wanted to point out how hard it is for the DRB and for the city council to make some of these decisions, because all day long you get inundated with, got to slow the traffic down. You got to slow it down. It's too fast. And you come to some of these meetings, hey, don't slow the traffic down. We got to keep it moving fast. So I just wanted the public to understand there's so many competing interests and so many things that go into these decisions. And just really want to commend both the DRB and the city council for taking on these really important issues in this community. And they're not easy. They're just not as easy sometimes as they might appear.
Great. I'd like to reiterate that the biggest comments I get from residents are about making our streets safer, concerned about people driving recklessly and impacts to pedestrians and cyclists, which is why I love this data that we have. It's really good. This is a really data-driven way of illustrating both issues to traffic and then pedestrians and cyclists. Number 2, just in terms of public input, we had 20 cards, blue cards, 15 were in favor, 5 letters, all were in favor. And so with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2018-7948.
So moved.
Please vote.
Just for clarification on a couple of items, if I may. One of my questions about the bulb outs, is that a standard size, or can we look at that? And
The general design on those bulb outs is there's a minimum size that we need to hit, and that's, you know, whether it's due to emergency services and that kind of thing, making sure we can make those
I have to
turns.
reopen. I'm sorry, I have to reopen back the public hearing.
okay, go ahead.
I'm opening back up the public hearing.
Thank you.
So there's a typical minimum size that we need to meet to make sure that the fire department and everybody else is on board with the design. We are trying to minimize, make the bulb outs bigger to minimize the size of the crosswalks, because we're trying to kind of make sure pedestrians and vehicles aren't sharing the same space for as short as possible. So that's the concept behind the bulb outs. I hear all the time people, hey, they're too big, I'm hitting them. Those folks are driving too fast into our intersections. That's an issue there. If there's a decision to widen those out, we can, but we are sacrificing, you know, there is plenty of room for a car to exit those locations. If a fire truck can manage it, I think the person driving the vehicle can. But that is the kind of the thought process behind those. If there was a decision for us to revisit those, we would revisit.
Okay, and then additionally, colleagues, we did not decide on what to do with the light standard down by the estuary. It's my advocacy that they stay. I just, as many times as we've spoken about this being a very dark community, I could not support removing light standards.
If we looked at the design to make sure that we felt like we could get enough bollards back in to kind of mitigate that loss, and I think we feel we are going that route, we could boost that if necessary.
Like you said, with the light standards that are currently there, you said predatory type birds nest up there. So this bird's nesting above my head when I'm sitting on this bench, trying to enjoy my view. Probably not the best. Just saying.
Well, I know there's things that you can use. There's the spike that you can put on them. There's tanglefoot. There's a lot of different things that you can use.
Umbrella.
Umbrella. You can take an umbrella. Again, I just,
We're back to the
I
public.
cannot
We're doing
remove.
full public hearing in this now? We need to make sure that we. Yeah, okay. It sounds like there's an attempt to build some consensus, right? Is that, right, okay.
Being attempted.
I support the bollard, that we use those to enhance it. I think that we have to be also careful with enhancing too much light right near the estuary. I think that would take away a lot from the importance of our estuary. So I would like to see the light in that area maintained, and we can do that through the bollards, I believe.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm going to close the public hearing. Okay. Please vote. Do I have to redo the vote? Now are we, I got a motion, so I just.
We did
you guys
a
can
second.
close it.
We had a motion.
We had a
and
second, and I asked you guys to vote, so you can vote. That's the first adopt resolution.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Now we have, I'm going to entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2018-7949.
So moved.
For a second. Please vote. Great, thanks, everybody. Appreciate you coming out. And
Motion
with-
carried unanimously by those present.
Great. With that, I'm adjourning the regular meeting. Thank you so much.
No, yeah, you're gonna be doing it by yourself.
Oh, I thought you were giving us, I thought you were giving an academic conference paper. Was it an academic conference paper he was giving on urban theory and planning, or was that a comparative analysis of sidewalk styles in 15 cities? I heard you saying you were a cycler, a cyclist, a bicycler. What's a cycler? What's a cycler?
And baby goats, but also extreme content that is angry, content that is hateful, content that feeds conspiracy theories. And this hateful, angry conspiracy theory collection doesn't just spread because people like it. In fact, it more often than not spreads because people have problems.